very nice to see you again. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so very excited to have you here. As you can see, scenery has changed. We are officially not in Tennessee right now. We are traveling in the great state of Colorado. Very exciting, very different, but since we are somewhere different, we are going to be doing some things different. So as we all know, I'm not very good at remembering what I read, comprehending what's going on, and talking about it, and that's partially why we started doing this in the first place, because I want to grow my literacy brain. I don't know. So if you're anything like me and you can read a book and 5 seconds later you have no idea what's going on, these are going to be book reviews from someone that is like that. So in order to try to keep everything a little bit more simplified while we're on the road, I decided I wanted to start doing singular review videos. I think that'll just keep me from feeling overwhelmed by having to read a certain amount of books for a certain amount of videos. I can read one book, talk about the one, and then move on to the next video. So we're swapping it up a little bit. We're just gonna do singular reviews and possibly get into a little spoilers, because I know I've talked about that so often that I want to do that. Today, I said that I did not bring physical books with me. I kept all my physical books at home, but I did bring one of them with me, and that is this puppy right here, and I am going to read this because I want to. I've had this on my TBR for quite a while now, and I decided I wanted to read it physically, so I bought the book. But we left and I've been wanting to watch the TV show as well, so I decided I needed to bring it with me because I have to read this book physically for whatever reason. I couldn't tell you why I feel that way, but I do. So I brought it here with me. But this is pretty much the only physical book that I have. I probably won't really be getting very many physical books, if any. So most everything's gonna be read on my Kindle, which I do think is not as visually appealing. I think it's kind of boring, but it is what it is. That's just what's gonna happen. I mean, I can't travel with my entire bookshelf with me, can I? No, I can't. So we are going to deep dive a little bit more than usual on what I think about this, my thoughts, my opinions, stuff that I'm struggling with, stuff that I'm not really comprehending, stuff that I like, don't like, the whole nine. And then maybe at the end we'll throw in a spoiler section. Who knows? So to keep myself from talking any longer, we're gonna jump right into this. We're gonna see what I think, and I'm gonna let you know what I think the whole time. And then we won't pick anything else. It'll just be this one, which is kind of cool.
Hear that lonesome engine sigh as the desert train rolls by. Try to make Lone Pine by morning. Miles of highway in the sand, kicking dust in cowboy land, riding all the daylight through.
I'm also gonna go ahead and let you know right now, the weather is so confusing. When you're out in the sun, it's scorching hot, but when you're in the shade, it's like freezing cold. So I probably will be changing outfits very frequently throughout the day. So I was literally just wearing my blue shirt, now I'm back in my white shirt, and I might put on a sweatshirt if I get even colder. Just wanna let you know, in case if you're like, why is she changing all the time? Because I'm either really cold or really hot. There's kind of no in between, so I don't really know how to dress. I know that I'm literally nowhere near being into this, but so far I'm really enjoying all the details. It kind of feels like I'm just watching something. I don't know, I'm really enjoying it so far though. I'm literally only on page, what page am I on? 22, I'm on chapter 5. So I'm not into it yet. But to be into the very beginning of a book like this is very rare for me, so that's good. I'm gonna take that as a positive. So maybe I accidentally lied about being on chapter 5. It just says that I got to chapter 2. So I guess there's chapters and then sub-chapters. I don't really know. That's one thing that I don't like. I don't like that. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal. It gives these little stopping points. But I usually just like regular chapters, and I like chapter headers. Usually he does chapters like mid-section, but I guess this is technically chapter 2, so You know what I said? I was in chapter 1, part 4 or 5. I figured I'd go ahead and update you really quick. I'm currently on part 3 and I'm really enjoying this. Again, I thought having a lot of information and a lot of detail, I wasn't going to like it as much, or I was gonna have a really hard time getting into it and staying into it. But I think the details in this really adds for like an immersive experience. Now, I don't feel like I'm there, but I feel like I'm a part of this in a way. I think the way that the main character is kind of breaking the fourth wall and speaking directly to you as a reader, I think that's really fascinating. And it kind of makes us feel like we might not be there with him, but he's like explaining to us and recounting everything that happened in this story. And I feel like that's a unique way to write a book. I've not really experienced anything to my knowledge that's been written like that. So I am really enjoying this. I'm kind of, I don't want to say flying through it, but I am really enjoying this and reading this pretty quickly, kind of, not really. I'm still reading pretty slow, I always do, but I am really eager to continue reading this. I don't think that there's any part of me that really wants to put it down. I'm just chugging along and having a good time. We'll see what happens when we get to the later parts where we actually get into the JFK assassination type stuff, see what happens there. So right now we're really just focused on Harry's family and the main character, I can't even remember his name, Jake. That's his name. Harry and Jake trying to see if that's something that he's able to accomplish just in general. He wants to see how it turns out with Harry's family first in the real world before he actually goes and tries to stop the big event. So I'm curious to see what he'll think of his accomplishment on the first event stopped, and then, I don't know. But I'm liking it, I think it's pretty good. The only thing I will say, I kind of wish that I did read it first. I've gotten like 70 pages through that book, but I just was reading it while I was working, and it was not a good thing. It didn't work for me. I wasn't understanding what was going on. I was not comprehending it at all. So I think reading it first would have been interesting, so that way I can see the backstory, because I think it's kind of neat that this takes place in Derry as well, but I don't have enough knowledge on Derry to really fully understand what's going on here. They give you little bits and pieces and little backstories and stuff, but not enough for me to really grasp it, not to fully understand the ominous vibes that we're getting throughout this book, but that's okay. It will come at some point. So we're gonna keep chugging along. I'm excited. I'm really enjoying this. I didn't think that I was gonna like it as much as I am liking it right now. I've barely made any progress on this because I'm terrified just sitting here. I got in trouble because apparently this is just a campsite and you're not allowed to park here, even though it said it was open, and I got yelled at. And I can't do anything because the boys are still out. So I'm just stuck here and I'm waiting for them to come back and yell at me again because I haven't moved. So needless to say, I have not been very into this. I've been a little bit distracted. But it just started raining, so I'm sitting in the car. I think that eases my mind a little bit about reading, so I'll probably just wait for them to get back and then we'll probably leave and I'll read at some other point. But yeah, I've just been hiding. I hid behind the car because I was so nervous that they were gonna pull up again and get mad at me. But like, I don't know. I didn't know. I've never been to a campsite before, ever. We're not allowed to hang out. I don't know. Everyone that I've been to, you can just chill and hang out there and whatever, and then if somebody reserves it, that's when you can't be there. And obviously we're not camping, we're just here, but it's okay. It is what it is. If I get yelled at, I'm a big girl. I can handle it. Maybe, slightly, probably not. But I'm back in the car now, so hopefully I can be a little bit more submerged into this and not just panicking the whole time, because they can't see me. And now I have a rear view so I can see if they're pulling up, maybe. And I'll just hide in the floorboard. I literally just spent the last half hour trying to give myself a blowout that's not going to last more than 10 minutes. And I needed a snack, so I got a chocolate rice cake, and then I have some sweet tea. Quite the combo, but rice cakes are going bad, and so is the tea, so need to finish it all up. And I'm reading while I'm eating ever so slightly. I did not get that much farther, but I did read or listen to a little bit more while I was cooking. So I guess right now I'm on chapter 14, I think. Yes, chapter 14. I got to part 4 already. I am super into it. However, I'm hitting a snag. I'm not really wanting to read that much. I'm not really in the mood for picking up a book. I really am excited to finish this though. I'm really enjoying the storyline. I don't think that it's too much detail. Normally I would say like, hey, there's a little bit much in here. I think we experienced like a sickness scene where they were going to the bathroom, and I think it's so comical that Stephen King includes a lot of details like that you would normally never experience in a book. And I think that that just kind of goes to show what I'm talking about with the amount of detail that he does put in these books. If the characters are going to the bathroom, I mean, we're really not missing anything. There's not like a single piece of info that we would need that we're not getting, to my knowledge, but also there's not a single piece of information that we don't need at all that we're not getting. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point somebody sneezed in one of these books. And to be honest with you, I feel like I have experienced a sneeze and a bless you in a Stephen King book. Don't quote me on that, could be absolutely wrong, but I feel like I'm not. So I'm gonna finish my rice cake, I'm gonna sit down on the couch, and probably by that time I'm gonna shake out my hair a little bit so that way it can look nice for 2 seconds. Nonetheless, I'm gonna enjoy this, and then we'll get back to it. I couldn't tell you what the deal is. I think it's the amount of airflow or something that's going in through our bedroom, but the fire alarm keeps going off and there's no fire, so I don't know. Hopefully it's not carbon monoxide, because that would suck. So, 2 things. I think the number one thing that's making me not really want to read right now is the part that I'm in. I feel like the part where he's teaching school is just dragging on a little bit. It's making me worried because he is creating this relationship. He's creating relationships with the students. And for me, time travel is kind of confusing. Like, I don't really know how it works, and I don't really understand. There's so much that goes into it. So whenever I'm like, okay, well, he's going to go back, and then are they going to remember him? Are they not going to remember him? Like, is he just a person that was there that they can't find again? Like, how does that work? I think that's a little bit odd. Imagine like having an ex-boyfriend and then you're like, oh yeah, I kind of want to look him up, or, you know, I remember this guy, but then now it's just like he's no longer existing. It's just kind of awkward. I feel like that's weird. Secondly, I think it's good. I really am enjoying the part, but I think it's a little bit off script for the book. Obviously, the whole point is that he's trying to go back in time to stop the JFK assassination. Obviously, he has time to kill. He has spare time. It's not like he needs to be doing anything right this second. But I think that since there is so much downtime, it's kind of making me lose sight of the actual point of the book and like the main focus of it. I kind of feel like we're derailed a little bit. We're off on some other topic. So that's not my favorite part, although I do really enjoy the relationships that he's creating. I really enjoyed Mimi. I'm enjoying this new lady. I think she's really funny. I love the relationships that he's making with the kids, but then it just kind of make me nervous. And then what I was gonna say, I was about to say that I wonder if he's even gonna go back to the present time at this point. I wondered if that's something that he was even considering, if he wanted to just stay and ride it out in the, what is he, in the 60s now? Something like that. Very concerning, to which then I'm like, well, what's gonna happen to him in the future? Like, is anybody gonna have any recollection of him whatsoever in the 2011 time? Like, I don't know. I just don't know how that works. But I actually, immediately after I thought that, like just completely off the dome, my question kind of got answered. So yeah, I'm curious to see how we're gonna move forward as in terms of his present life. Not like the present tense. Would that be the present tense? because he's in the past, but technically he's in the present, even though he's in the past. I don't know. Look, I don't know. This is racking my brain tremendously, but I don't know what he's going to do with his 2011 timeline. Like, I don't really know what he's planning on doing with that. And I think that that's something that I'm interested in seeing how this plays out. Because obviously if he succeeds, he'll get to see the direct outcome from point to, you know, future. Whereas if he was in 2011, he would just see it in the future. And then if there is any like really massive direct consequences, then that would be like kind of first and foremost, you know? I don't know. Just some of the things that I'm thinking, some stuff that's going through my head right now. It's pretty good. I am just a little bit ready to move on from the school. Unfortunately, eager to see what happens with those relationships. Curious to see if he does in fact stay or not, which I think I might have an answer already. I'm just not sure. And yeah, I'm very eager to see what the next step includes, especially in terms of him making or sticking to following through with a plan for said stopping. What is that called? What is it called? Assassination. That's what it is, for stopping said assassination. So I'm kind of locked in now. I said that I wasn't super eager, but I'm ready to keep going. Officially on chapter 28, so we have reached the day of the assassination attempt. I'm kind of curious to see what's gonna happen. I think I kind of spoiled it for myself, but I'm not positive. I'm like thinking that I did, but I don't really remember what I read, so like I don't really know. But I think it's gonna go well. I think he's gonna succeed. I'm excited to see how it all pans out. I'm curious to see what his actual plan is gonna be, how he's going to execute his plan, and I'm just curious to see what's gonna happen with him and I can't remember her name, but the girl that he's seeing. Curious to see if he ends up taking her with him or if he's gonna leave her in the past. But we have about 150-ish pages left, so let's finish it up. I just finished 11/22/63 not too long ago. I've been trying to sit on my thoughts a little bit just because I don't really know what I want to rate it. I did go into this book expecting it to be so information heavy to the point where I was struggling to keep up. I actually did not feel that way. I think the amount of information, the amount of details that was put into this book was perfect, and for me that's not something that I usually think I'm going to enjoy. I don't think that I love a ton of details because I think sometimes it can kind of bog the story down. I'm not reading it as quickly. I kind of get a little bit bored because I'm missing out on the entire plot of the story and I'm kind of just lost in the details. And I do think that there were a couple moments in this where I was a little bit lost in the detail. We were getting a lot of kind of side quest, which I do understand side quest in this book. It makes sense because we are waiting from 1958 until 63, so I get that there's a huge time chunk that's spent trying to not only figure out what's going on, to try to come up with a plan, but also there's just a lot of time to kill. And so I think him teaching and that part where he was in, I can't remember what that town's called, I have no idea. It's like right on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember. I think that kind of was where the story started dragging for me a little bit because I was enjoying it. I do like the relationships that he created there, but I think I was on a high from the feeling that I got from him being in Derry, that going over here and doing something different just felt like almost like a genre switch. And I'm not saying that it switched genres or anything like that, but Derry felt so creepy and ominous to me, and there was just a vibe that I could feel in my gut while reading this I really enjoyed, and I feel like I've not really gotten to experience anything like that while reading a book. So for me, getting to read that and have that type of reaction to what I was reading was definitely very fun, and I enjoyed reading that part. And then getting to now we're dealing with him being a school teacher and him falling in love and him dealing with like the kids and stuff like that, putting on the plays, and it was good, but it didn't have that creepy aspect that I really enjoyed in that first little bit. And then also I just felt like it was straying a little bit far from the overall what we had going on, which was trying to go back in time to stop the JFK assassination. So I think that for that, in the middle I got a little bit bored. Not bored, but I just didn't enjoy it as much. I didn't really care as much about that part of the story, which when I say I don't care, like, that's not what I mean at all. It just wasn't as interesting to me. It wasn't something that I was just super compelled to read. But after we moved on a little bit from that, once we started pushing past, once we started getting into him and Sadie's like bickering, quarreling, then he comes back and all that stuff, I think that was more enjoyable. But like I said, just that little section in the middle was not necessarily my favorite. I will say there were some twists and turns with this. I didn't expect the ending. For whatever reason, I just assumed that he was gonna go back and like that was it. I didn't expect anything outside of that, really, which I mean, I guess with the amount of pages that I have left, I should have expected it, but I didn't. So I think that the way that it was ending, when I thought or when I assumed that it would have been ending, was fine. Like, I didn't have any problems with it, but I think that the way it ended as a whole really tied the entire story together for me. I really enjoyed the ending. I think it came full circle. It was a really sweet and wholesome ending. I think there were some moments that you look back and you're like, well, this kind of sucks, that kind of sucks, like, you know, like things happened and he can't do anything about it. Like, he's already decided at this point he's going back and he's done, he's not going back any longer. And I think it kind of leaves some like, man, that sucks for this character, sucks for this character, like don't really know what's gonna happen, yada yada yada. But I think the way that it was overall summed up in the very end, it was just really full circle. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really sweet. And I didn't like feel bad for any of the characters. I mean, kind of, but like, it just was so nice and like wrapped up with a pretty bow, I guess. I felt like it was the perfect ending and it made the most sense, and I'm very content with the way that it ended. I'm not really wishing that other things would have happened, which I did kind of expect to want a different ending, but I think this overall, really good. I do feel like there were a couple scenes, a couple chapters that kind of just slugged along and I wasn't really interested in reading them, or I wasn't really eager to pick it up and finish that section. But I think overall as a whole, I really enjoyed this book, and I would recommend this for somebody that is detail oriented in books, that likes heavy details, that doesn't want to miss anything. I mean, like, dude went to the bathroom a couple times in this, which, how often are you going to the bathroom in a book? Like, come on. That's what I mean whenever I said there's a lot of detail. Like, genuinely, this feels like I missed nothing. Like, there is no thing that could have happened that I'm like, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do this, like that's something that normal people do. Nothing, like not a thing. I think overall I'm still probably gonna think on it, but I'm gonna go ahead and just say I'm gonna give this a 4-star. I think that that will be what I keep it as, unless if I genuinely just over time think that it is a 5-star, maybe I'll change it. If so, it'll be on the Goodreads. But like I said, really good book. Definitely more intriguing than I expected. I really love the storyline. I loved the plot with this. I think just the idea behind writing a book like this is crazy, and I think it's so creative and just so fascinating to read. But again, I had a couple boring moments that I was not super fond of that kind of made me want to put the book down, not pick it up, do other things. We know the feeling. And I don't necessarily like feeling like that with books. I want to just be sucked in and just completely enjoy the entire ride. And so a couple moments of not fully loving it was a little disappointing. But again, overall, super good book. I think a 4-star is definitely a high rating for this. If I did half stars or anything like that, it would probably be like a 4.5. something along those lines. But again, I do my ratings based off of feelings. If it doesn't feel like a 5-star, it's not gonna be a 5-star. So that's just the feeling. So let me know if you have read this book and what your opinions are. Also, if there is anything that I missed, something that doesn't connect with the timelines or with the way time travel works or anything like that. Time travel is like one of the most confusing things on the freaking planet to me. I don't understand it. So reading a time travel book just kind of throws me off and I just will never get it. But if there is anything like alternate timelines or different things that I maybe missed that you picked up on it, that you're like, that just drive you nuts that you want to talk about, let me know, because I am curious to see if there's anything that I missed, anything that was like very right in your face, like come on, this does not make sense. I'm kind of intrigued to know. But I greatly appreciate you for being here. Thank you for hanging out with me while we read my one and only book that I brought with me on this extravaganza. Let me know what books you want to see me read and review. But as always, I greatly appreciate you for being here, and I will hopefully get to see you in the next one. See ya!